So, chapter 14 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex is finally here, and just know that it's very text heavy. But a few things did happen, such as Boruto getting saved by Sage MITSUKI, we have the reveal of Jura's true identity, and we also have the introduction of one of the strongest entities in the entire Naruto franchise, that being this table. So we have a lot to discuss, but of course we're gonna start from the top. So the person on the cover for this month is Kashin Koji, and the title of the chapter is Duty, and this is more in reference to what happens with Shikamaru and Mitsuki later on in the chapter. Now the chapter itself starts with Boruto getting interrogated, and we have Konohamaru there, and we also have Ibiki sensei, and you guys made a big deal out of me saying Ikibi the entire spoiler video, and I don't know why you guys cared so much about Ninja 0167, which is a joke by the way, which for some reason I needed to clarify in the video. But yeah, his name is Ibiki, so you guys can sleep well tonight. But yeah, we have Konohamaru saying, "You finally come to. Relax, your wounds have been healed." Now then seems that Boruto tried to use some jutsu because his fingers are set in some type of motion, but Konohamaru goes on to say that they're sealing jutsu cuffs crafted by a model. No amount of weaving signs will lead to jutsu activation, and this is very important. It then goes on to say that they even suppress your favorite teleportation, and don't even think about trying to break them. They may be electronic, but they're extremely resistant to impact. You'll just injure your arms. Now this is very important to note because you guys made a big deal in the comments about me saying that Boruto is table level, which was clearly a joke. I don't know why I needed to clarify that in the pinned comment, but keep that in mind as we progress through the chapter. Now Boruto seems to be concerned about everyone else and asked where the enemy was. Konohamaru then goes on to say that the enemy has run off. There's no sign of their chakra in or around the village. We lost several comrades this round, but their actual targets like Sarada and Himawari are safe, as are the Inoshikacho trio. Now we then switch over to what we saw in the early leaks, which had Sakura healing Inojin. She then goes on to say that this is incredible. He has been healed so completely, it's hard to believe that his belly had been run through. She then goes on to clarify that it looks like his chakra flow was disrupted, but no worries. Once I get it going again, he'll eventually come to. Now we're not going to spend any time on this because we already went over this in another video as it relates to the sneak peek. So let's move on to the next portion of this chapter. So we then switch over to Boruto getting interrogated once again, and apparently the old elders are still here, that we saw them in chapter 6, and the mother is also there listening to the conversation. So they're not in the actual room itself. It seems that they're using Ino's jutsu. Now we also see that Ada is also watching into the conversation using her Stemrinkan, and she informs Kawaki that the interrogation is about to begin. Damon then goes on to say that it ain't looking good for Kawaki. What's your plan if Boruto decides to let all the cats out of the bag? I mean, there probably isn't anyone loony enough to believe that their positions are flipped, but you did outright lie about Boruto killing the Hokage. I wonder how everyone will react once they find out. Kawaki then goes on to say that it won't change anything. No matter what Boruto says, it is still his fault that Lord Seventh disappeared. A dangerous Otsutsuki who could rampage at any moment. That's his true nature. Killing him is the only option, whether it's now or later. But before that, we need to extract the intel he has, so we're able to deal with those mysterious monsters. Now we then switch over back to the room itself, and Konohamaru is surprised by what Boruto is saying. He's like, the divine tree people who possess self-consciousness. Boruto says, yeah, each one reflects the chakra of a person devoured by the Ten Tails and turned into a tree. For example, Old Man Sasuke was the base model for Hidari, who you just fought. I've also seen one called Matsuri, whose base model is Master Moegi. And the one Matsuri is eager to devour is you. Now Amada then goes on to say that the Ten Tails' intended purpose is to devour an Otsutsuki, become a divine tree, and put down roots in the ground in order to suck the planet dry of life and produce a chakra fruit. It knows this instinctively. But now that they've acquired intelligence, we should view them as more than a simple beast that acts on impulse. He then goes on to say that in general, intellectual curiosity seeks experiences that lead to new emotions and knowledge, namely information. I suspect that's what they want. So it's pretty much confirming what we as the audience already knew about these entities. They want to consume their targets to gain information. Now Boruto then says it's something like that, which I did find a bit interesting, but let's just move on. Now then says that the main boss is pretty much Jura. He's a special case. Unlike the others, he has no prototype. He's a direct incarnation of the Ten Tails, and the one steering this crisis we're facing right now. So this pretty much backs up what I said in this video. You guys can go watch it right now to get the full breakdown of why this makes sense, because it's a bit complex and I understand why this might seem a bit crazy, but it does make perfect sense and this video explains it in detail. Now it then goes on to say that in short, if we can defeat Jura, this planet will stop being in danger, which I found very interesting, because is this implying that the other Shinjus can't consume an MITSUKI and turn into the divine tree like it has to be Jura? Or does he mean that the other ones are too weak to matter, so if they have the strength or the power to defeat Jura, then they can defeat everyone else? So it could go either way, you know, I'm not gonna latch on to any possibility at this point in time. We'll see how it plays out. Now Shikamaru is of course confused about how Boruto knows about all of this, and we know it's because of Kashin Koji and Prescience, and he's asking Boruto to divulge this information. But Boruto goes on to say that I have a source, but sorry, I can't reveal his identity. He asked me not to, for his own safety. Now that's when you get into some yap fest between Boruto, the elders, and they're trying to convince Boruto that he should divulge the information, and Boruto says, you want me dead, and the only reason why I'm alive is cause of my intel. And the elders like, don't get cocky with us, you renegade. And then goes on to say that whatever Boruto says at this point in time, he won't leave this room alive. They then go on to question him about why he killed Naruto, but we then switch over to Shikamaru having a mental breakdown. But first it shows him thinking about the conversation he had with Boruto where he told him to remain the fugitive, and that's what Boruto is pretty much doing in this interrogation. But it also shows that he's forgetting why he decided to trust Boruto. So we have this panel of him saying, what exactly is it that lies with Kawaki? And on what basis do I find Boruto trustworthy? I don't know. And yet, somehow, for no logical reason, I am convinced that he is Uzumaki Boruto. I have a memory of deciding to believe that, and also accepting this premise that leads to everything falling into place, which means I can't let Boruto die here and now. They would then switch over to Boruto saying that I didn't kill him. Lord Seventh is alive. His wife too, they're both somewhere safe. They then proceeded to ask him about where this location is, and he replied by saying that he's not telling them. Which is when Ikibi entered the conversation. They would then switch over to Shikamaru trying to reach out to Ino, but it seems like she's not on his side anymore, and I don't think it's because of omnipotence, because she seems to be fully aware of what he said, but she's choosing not to believe him. I think she's just having an emotional reaction because of what happened to Inojin, and that's what's happening here, because she refuses to help him even though he said that he needs the help as a friend, not as an order from the Hokage. And that's pretty much where this conversation ended. Now we're finally back to the interrogation room once again, and we have Ibiki standing above Boruto saying that if Lord Seventh is safe, tell us where he is. If you can't, your claim isn't going to fly, and you'll die disgraced as an Hokage killing traitor. But of course, Boruto doesn't respond, and that's when Ibiki slammed his face into the table. And when he lifts him up, he's all blooded and bruised, and he's bleeding from his 2 nostrils and also his mouth. And he says, you see, Boruto, I've been itching to beat your ass for killing Naruto these last 3 years. Boruto says it must be nice to have so much free time. That's when he punched Boruto across the face, and then he punches him in the stomach once again, which has Boruto coughing up blood and all that lovely stuff. Now, I will say this is where this might get a bit tricky, so let's just hear me out for a second, okay? Now know that these cuffs are stated to block jutsus in chapter 13, and now we're in chapter 14, and we also have this panel of Konohamaru saying that these cuffs are sealing jutsu cuffs created by a model. No amount of weaving signs will lead to jutsu activation. Now they didn't go into detail on how this occurs, but you can assume that it does this by suppressing a chakra in Boruto's hand, which prevents him from activating jutsu, but that's just an assumption. What I will say is that they should have just said that the cuffs suppress chakra in general throughout the entire body, because if they just specify jutsu, it will lead to some confusion as to why Boruto can't just reinforce his body with chakra, because chakra itself that is used to strengthen the body is separate from jutsus being activated. Those are 2 separate things. But obviously, based on what's happening in the chapter itself, it's very clear that the cuffs are suppressing the chakra throughout his entire body, or else Boruto would have been able to just power through everything. And even if he can't break through the cuffs themselves, because Konohamaru said that they're resistant to impact, he would still be able to leave. And they're also fully aware of the fact that Boruto is very strong, since they confirmed that he defeated Code, the character greatly above Jigen. So I don't think that they're incompetent enough to just believe that suppressing jutsu would prevent Boruto from leaving that room when he's just physically that strong. So obviously this cuff is doing more than what's stated by Konohamaru. Now Shikamaru then taps in, telling Ibiki that it's not going to work and they should use Venom instead, so let's summon MITSUKI. Now Konohamaru is a bit shocked by this, saying that he doesn't think that it's a wise decision, saying that MITSUKI has a strong killing urge towards Boruto. Forget interrogation, worst case, he just may try to kill Boruto. Even so, Shikamaru tells them to still bring MITSUKI in. Now then switch over to Ada, saying that it doesn't look like Boruto is planning on telling them what Kawaki did. He seems to be trying to protect your standing in the village. And Damon is like, yo, why the heck is he doing this? Why would he do that? I don't get that guy. Now then switch to the scene of MITSUKI trying to enter the room, and Shikamaru stops him just before he did and says, remember, we are shinobi and this is a mission. Control your emotions and perform your duty. Understand? MITSUKI then enters and Boruto taunts him, saying that, hey MITSUKI, are you still idiotically searching for your son? And that's when MITSUKI enters Sage Mode, charging in at Boruto and slams him against the wall. He then says, is that all you have to say, ungrateful traitor? Ibiki then grabs him and pulls him off Boruto, but then it shows a panel of one of Mitsuki's snakes unlocking the cuffs placed on Boruto's hands. Mitsuki then whispers to Boruto, saying that your stuff is in the West Wing security office. There are 2 guards. Ibiki then pulls Mitsuki off of Boruto, which means that Ibiki scales above Sage Mitsuki, by the way. I don't make the rules. But anyways, Boruto then makes a sign to use Flying Thunder God and says, just to be clear, I don't see any of you guys as foes. I'm even okay sharing intel as needed, which I'll decide. And how you use it will be entirely up to you. And that's when Boruto teleports out of the room using Flying Thunder God. Ibiki then says, I thought they were supposed to be resistant to even high impact. That damn bastard Amado, foisting such junk on us. We then get a panel of Konohamaru thinking to himself, saying that maybe Mitsuki unlocked the cuffs. Then he said, no it can't be. Only Kibi and I and Lord 8th know the 4-digit code. And besides, Mitsuki has no reason to help Boruto. That's when we switch to the scene from before with Mitsuki entering the room, and we see that Shikamaru passed the code to Mitsuki on a piece of paper. So pretty much confirming that Shikamaru helped Boruto escape through Mitsuki. Now Boruto then teleports to the room that has his clothing, he grabs his sword and his cloak, then apparently teleports outside of the village. We then get a panel of the old geezer saying, what an absolute blunder. You've wasted one more opportunity to take him down. Shikamaru then proceeds to apologize, but one of the others said that the daimyos or daimyos, whatever you want to call them, will be quite unhappy without a doubt. Beware Shikamaru, there shall be lasting consequences from this. That's when Sarada and Sumire barged into the Akage office, asking what was the result of Boruto's interrogation. And Shikamaru pretty much tells them that he escaped, and that's where that conversation ended. Now that's when he received a call from the Sand Village and it's Kankuro on the line. He then proceeds to say that it's been a while Shikamaru, sorry to bother ya. Gaara has been taken down, his adopted son Shinki too. He then proceeded to confirm that Shinki got turned into a tree, but fortunately they're both still alive. I'll explain more later, but forgive my bluntness, could you lend us a hand? We then get a panel of the Shinki Shinju looking all cool and stuff, and the final panel confirms that his name is Ryu. So yeah, that's it for the chapter. As you guys can see, a lot of yapping, a lot of talking, not much happened in the chapter itself when it comes to like action and stuff, but it was cool nonetheless. We did get some information on what's going on with Jura. He is the incarnation of the Ten Tails, but we knew that already. And we also got the revelation of the Shinki Shinju, which I'm gonna do a separate video on to go into why he's very strong, or why he could be strong, and what his abilities might be, and also who his target will. So yeah, we're gonna have that video coming out next week, but tomorrow or the day afterwards we have the video on Boruto being the reincarnate of Shibai. So hopefully I'll see you guys on that one. With that said guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you like the video and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.